All right, everybody, welcome back to Boisterous. I'm Briette, and today I have
Nyla.
perfect. We're just getting back into things, so kind of with everything that was going on, we were taking a break, but we have a really good topic for you guys today. Something that we think will be relatable, definitely for us. Just gonna kind of get more into work environments, and kind of how it can be toxic and maybe push you over the edge. So Nyla, kind of get into like your work job or that you had. How long ago was this?
Like when I left,
When you started?
like a year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago. Okay. And did how did it start off? Like working there?
So I started off, and it's a healthcare job. I started off being like a direct support, so like dealing directly with the clients, helping them get ready, and I dealt with clients that had, we call them clients, not patients. So that's why I'm saying that. So if it's weird to some people, it was really weird to me when I first started, but that's why I'm saying clients. So they have brain injuries. So like they've gone through traumatic injuries, so like car accidents or falls or stuff like that. So traumatic injuries, and we just basically help them live life, bathe them, wipe their butts, feed them, like literally all of the above.
So is it like an old folks home or is it different?
I think it's similar because the majority of people there are older or are long-term clients. Like
Okay.
it's supposed to be a rehab place where it's like you go there, you get the rehab you need, and then you go home. But the majority of the clients there are long-term. Like they can't, no matter how long they're there, they can't really go home,
Because they can't function?
pretty much.
Okay.
They can't function without that immediate help, and their family isn't qualified to like take care of them.
Okay. Because I know like some people have in-home health care, something like that. So this is more they need because they have like you guys specialize in brain injuries, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so everyone there, whatever their health thing had to do with something in their brain.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I started working there. I was working for about maybe 2.5, 3 months when I got very uncomfortable because, some of these clients with their brain injuries, they basically have no filter. And with one particular client, he had been there for multiple years and he was just very sexually frustrated. And I completely understand that because it's a natural thing to want that. So, but the thing that bothered me is that he would come to me and say, "Can you please relieve me? Can you, do these things to me? I will do it in return to you." And so I was uncomfortable. So I went to my direct supervisor, told them I'm extremely uncomfortable. I have, addressed the situation how you guys requested I do, and it's still happening. And the response was, basically, you're just going to have to deal with it. And so like that for me was just very frustrated because at that point I was being put with that client very often and I just felt burnt out. I was at the point where I was just like, I can't, I just got very irritated and agitated when I was with him, to the point where it's like my my level of care for him wasn't as high as I wanted it to be, because I'm the type of person, I try to do my job to the
Mhm.
best of my ability. And when I was with that particular client, I just was just trying to do it to make the time pass by. I wasn't, it was just, mm-mm.
You were uncomfortable pretty much the whole time. And how long were you with him specifically? Like how long? An hour, 2 hours?
So with this particular client, they did an every other hour rotation. So I was with him for every other hour for my shift, and my shift was about 6 hours.
Okay, so you were there for a good time and you were with him like every day?
Pretty much, like it got to a point where it's like every single time I worked, I was with him. And then I complained. They stopped putting me with him for a minute, and then I got back with him like every other time I worked. So it was like,
Okay. And how many times did that happen before you reached out to your manager, I'm assuming you went to?
so it happened once, and then I kind of talked to coworkers to like, hey, does this happen to you? And
Mhm.
they're like, oh yeah, it happens to me. Just go to so and so and talk to her about it. So it's like I'm the type of person where it's like if something, I don't. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be like an irritant. I don't want to be the type of person that's like, oh, she's always coming to me. So I kind of let the first couple times pass. But once it got to the point where he was like grabbing at me, I
Mm.
was like, I had to go. I had to talk to, and I told my boyfriend at the time, and he was like, you need to get this under control because I don't care if he has a brain injury. I will go to your job and do what needs to
I
be done.
mean, right, no matter what your position is, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to put yourself first, you know what I'm saying? Because now you're uncomfortable. You don't feel like you can provide the best health care that you can while you're providing that for him. So, I mean, they shouldn't want you there anyways. I mean, that's on them. But so clearly, like you said, you mentioned it to the other coworkers, your other coworkers, and it had happened to them. Did
Mhm.
any of the treatment, was it different as far as their response for you from what it was for them?
What do you mean? Like when they went to her?
Yeah, so you said that when you went to them, it was more of just deal with it. You kind of didn't have to deal with him for a few times and then you went back. Was it the same for them or did it get resolved?
I think it depended on the person because I know there are some people who complain more often than others, and then some when it's really bad. So for the people that complain extremely often, I personally feel like they complained to the point where they were saying, I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to go to management. So I know a couple people who had restrictions from being with that particular client, and then other people that were like me or barely complained. We were just like with him regularly. So the response I felt like was the same, but due to like the amount of complaining that you did, I guess changed the response.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you don't feel like your result was any different. It was just a matter of how much you pushed the issue.
Right.
Okay. And I know so you were working with him for about how long until you got to a different position with the company?
Yeah, so 4 months. I worked 4 months for 4 months before I got promoted. And the thing that pushed that promotion for me applying for the promotion is because of that situation. I no longer wanted to be in direct care because of that situation. I was extremely uncomfortable. So I was like, let me apply, see if I can get it. And I got it. And I was like, thank God.
Okay. Okay, cool. So the new position, was it a completely different thing or were you still doing the healthcare type of situation?
So for me, since I was transitioning from that position to a higher one, it was a mixture at the beginning because I knew how to do the position. I knew how to function in the role, how to like every person's routine. So
Mm.
I would help out when we were short staffed. But normally, if it was anyone else, that position is completely removed from client care. Like you're not supposed to be in client care at all.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, sounds good. So I kind of get into mine to kind of give you guys a little bit of background. I started this job, which was in sales in Detroit right out of college, I would say about 2 months after. Um, So heavy in sales, I'm on the phones pretty much during my entire shift. Well, I am on the phones pretty much during my entire shift. So that's what I'm doing. I'm answering the phones, helping them and guiding them through what they're purchasing, um, and pretty much doing that every single day. I feel like, and you can let me know, but when you first start a job, it's kind of like everything is good and dandy, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So, like, one thing that I did love about this company is the company culture. I mean, they stressed it 24/7 as far as what was expected. Not expected of you as far as like production wise on what you do on your daily basis of your job, but more of like how you act, how you are outside of your job, once you clock out, kind of maintaining that image, not really image, but maintaining that attitude, and implementing that in your own life and in the workforce as well. So that was one thing I really liked about the company that I was with, is that they really pushed that and they definitely were open to any feedback that you had as far as where you saw growth that needed to happen, or even something that you really liked and that you wanted that to be better. So I really enjoyed that part, as far as you felt heard, I would say, with that job. You definitely felt heard. And then me personally, like if I had something to say, I was gonna be heard anyways. So there's like that too. But I never really had an issue as far as me not being heard to your extent.
Mhm.
As far as like that's like a boundary there that I'm not dealing with people as physically. Um, I am dealing with people over the phone, and I have got cussed at. So there's that part too where I just want to be like, click, but I never did that. But but yeah, I would say when you first start a job, you're definitely like happy go lucky, that money's coming through, everything's good. And then you kind of get into, routine and you're there every day or however long you're there for. And it's like, okay, this isn't as cute and exciting as it was in the first week or so. So I would say for me personally, so I was with this company for just over a year. It's like a year and 1 month. Um, and I
I
just
really thought you were with them longer.
It felt like longer. It felt like for years, but it was only it was only a year and a month. A year, yeah, a year and a month.
Wow.
Exactly, almost. Yeah. So, um, so yeah, I was with them for a year and a month right out of college. So it was my first, full-time job. Usually we're used to like 6 4-hour shifts here and there. So like this is already pushing it and I'm already doing something I'm getting annoyed with. So my job was very monotonous, so very repetitive. And so I was talking to someone 24/7, right? Um, so once you kind of do that for so long, you get a little burnt out there. Um, how was it for you as far as getting burnt out in the new position? Because you're doing something completely different. So how
Right.
did you kind of get to that point?
So my new position was I was the scheduler for this particular organization.
Mhm.
And so to relate that to where I was, so originally I was a direct support. So I made the schedule for the direct supports.
Okay.
So I was basically like the scheduler for my old position. And so the burnout here came in stages. So when I first started, I didn't get trained. So I basically stepped into the position, um, paving the way for myself in the position. It was a brand new position, and I was the very first person in it. I did not get trained because the person that was supposed to train me was homesick my first week working. And by the time she was there to train me, I had already, you know,
Trained
trained
yourself.
myself. Exactly. So that was a little bit of a burnout because I didn't feel supported. Um, and so I went through a stage at the very beginning where it's like I was still getting into my rhythm.
Mhm.
So I was just like, okay, this is a lot. I know I got myself into a lot, but it's better than direct support and it's in the healthcare industry. It'll be good on my resume. And that was my main thing for getting this job is resume builder, medical industry. Cause at first, I was working on campus
Yeah.
and that was my first job. And it's like medical schools don't want to see you working at a gym for 4 years. Like they do like to see longevity, but they
Right.
want to see the medical field. So
Yeah.
I
They
was
want
like,
to see
okay,
experience in that field that you're trying to get into.
exactly.
Mhm.
So once I got through my stride, I was like there. I started noticing that a lot of people had things to say about my position. So I was like, respectfully, because I'm a very, very respectful professional person. If you ask anybody my professionalism, they always comment about my professionalism. And
Mhm.
I'm not the type of person to just go off on people, but I really wanted to go off on some of these people because
What were they saying?
they were just saying, Nyla, I really feel like you should do that. Or no. The thing that they would do is they wouldn't come to me. They would go to my boss and my boss would come to me. And
Mhm.
so my issue is, why aren't you man enough to come to me and tell me constructive criticism? Because I'm open for criticism because obviously I'm new to this position. So
Right.
I'm open to it. So why didn't you feel the need to come to me? And I don't know if it's because I'm younger, if
Mhm.
it's because I'm a woman, I don't know.
Is
Because I'm
it
Black.
right? Was it people from your previous position, like the caregivers, or was it like your manager? Like who exactly is doing the critiquing here?
Both.
Oh,
So
okay.
so the my old so when I was in the direct support position, my boss at that time was now my coworker because we both had the same manager. So we were like on the same level. So it was coming from her, and then it was also coming from my old coworkers because they saw a change in schedules, but in my opinion were very much more efficient.
Yeah.
So they just needed to get used to it, and they just had so much to say. But it's like
Okay.
until you get into this position, you're not going to know what goes into making the schedules.
Mhm.
And so my second burnout came, so I started the position in September, and my second burnout came January, February. Like, I was at a point where I was actively looking for another job. Like, I didn't tell my boss, I didn't tell my coworkers. I was just looking. I was like, okay, I can teach for America. I can be a
Right.
phlebotomist. I said I can just quit and be an Uber driver. I
Girl,
was at the point, I was like, anything, because
yes.
it came to a point where it was like I felt like my voice wasn't being heard, and that was a big part of me feeling burnt out, because a lot of the things that I would say were getting overshadowed by other people, and I felt like, you don't know what I do.
Yeah.
I'm the first person in this position, so I know what goes into everything that I do. And I just felt like I wasn't heard. I felt like, even though logically, like, it sounds like this is the smartest idea, if I'm telling you being in this position that won't work for me, then you should hear me out. And
Yeah.
that really bothered me. So, like, at that point, I was literally actively working for another job. And then it got to the point where I was just like, okay. I just kept saying okay. I was very short with everybody. Me and another coworker actually got into it, and in a professional way, of course. We
Right.
got into it. We did not like each other for a couple months. It was like every single time we saw each other, it was on professional terms. Hi, so and so, I need this. And it was like, okay, bye. It wasn't no, hi, how are you? How's your family? It wasn't like that.
Right.
And also,
Okay.
I'm not an outgoing person. So I wasn't happy. I didn't make friends. And I like having people, you know how you make your work friends and then you have your
Yeah.
real friends. I didn't have work friends. I would just go to work, do my job, be miserable, come home, cry about it. Like, not literally, but like just be like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to work there anymore.
Yeah.
And then, COVID happened. And so I was like, let me just stay on until I go back to school. So I'm in school now. So, like, I stopped working at the end of July, but like, I'm just going to go back. And so during COVID, it was another burnout. So I had 3 burnouts, because it was like people were quitting, because people's parents wanted them to come home. And people just assumed Nyla's going to get that shift filled with no problem. Like, Nyla has nothing else in life to do. Nyla has nothing else on her plate, so she can do this. So it
Yeah.
was just very frustrating, because they were throwing so much on my plate at once that it was just too much for me to do. No one was offering to take anything off of my plate. They were just here, sprinkling a little here, sprinkling a little there. Nyla, get it done by tomorrow. Nyla, change the schedule completely by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't like this. Add this to the schedule. Add this. I only want it to be 1 page, but I want 100 pages worth of things on that 1 page. So it was just a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. And so basically, my burnout came from not being heard, and people just expecting more out of me than, I guess it was possible because I did it, but expecting things out of me without asking, without having the decency to ask me if it was enough for me. And it just became too much for my mental health. It came to a point where I was like, I gained some stress weight,
Mhm.
and it was just like, I'm just not happy. I'm not healthy. I'm not happy.
Yeah. Have you ever had that feeling before with a different job?
See, for me, I got my first job when I was in college, and I worked for
Oh,
that job up
okay.
until I started at this job that I was talking about. So I haven't felt the burnout, but I have felt the not being heard.
Okay.
But that's only because people want to see what they want to see. They don't want to see what other people want you to see. And I've noticed that. So I just, in my mind, what I've learned between the couple jobs that I've had is do my work, and then it'll be noticed if it is. If it's not, then it's not. Like, don't try to do anything for praise or to be noticed.
Okay, so can you explain what you just said there? You said something about if you do it, then something. What were you saying?
Because I know a lot of people do things like at my old job, the job that we worked together. A lot of people, like for our bosses, they would notice certain things about people. But it's like for example, if there's this one person
I think I
working
understand. Yeah.
all the time, but they just so happen to catch their break, they're slacking. So now that person is the person that slacks, like go to work, get to work. And then you just so happen to catch the one person that's always slacking. You happen to catch them working. That person is now labeled as the hard worker, and you're now labeled as a lazy person. At this point, I don't care anymore. I'm going to do my job and I'm going to
Yeah.
do the best of my ability. And I'm not going to care what anyone thinks. If I am noticed, then wow, thank you. But if I'm not about to go out of my way to be noticed.
Yes. Okay. I completely get what you're saying because for one, I was at that same job and I know
Yes.
the thing about me personally, and everybody's different, like everyone's a different employee. You feel me? So like the way, and I know this so funny you said that because I noticed this towards the end at my job that I just quit. But when it comes to that, I'm the type of person where I don't necessarily need the recognition. What I don't like is being micromanaged, and I don't like hovering. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like I don't
Yes.
need you to be like, "Good job, Rhea. Like you did that perfectly," or like, you know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff. Like I don't need that. But what I do need is I need you to get off my back when I am doing the things I'm doing, supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? When I'm not,
Yes.
sometimes I need that push because we all get into that little funk of where we're not, maybe slacking here and there. It's normal. I personally like it when my manager, whoever, is like, all right, kick it up. We gotta pick it up here, whatever it is. I say
Like that extra push.
right. I say that because in sales, it's definitely all production based. So if you're not producing those numbers, they're going to be on you, okay? And not only that, but they're constantly. I mean, we have kind of like a group message, but in on the work, like on a work platform. I don't know how to explain that, but like it's like a group message, but for coworkers and your managers and all that good stuff. And so constantly throughout the entire day, they are putting in there who's hitting goal, who's doing this, who's doing that, who needs to do this, like who is staying on the phones for this amount of time and who's not. So they're like, you're gonna know exactly where you are compared to your other coworkers every 5 minutes. Like, and I'm not exaggerating. It's like every 5 minutes. So I honestly got to the point because kind of like you said, as far as like they're gonna see what they want to see type of thing. I got to the point where at first I wanted to make my manager happy, and I did, not only for my own pocket but for her too, So I was like, okay, I hit goal, so I'll add to the group message. I hit goal with this and that, right? It got to a point where I'm not big on teachers' pets. So when I felt like people were in there trying to get, like extra stars and like extra kudos, like that's like a turn off for me. And so I just like don't even involve myself in that. So it got to a point where I wouldn't even tell them that I hit goal. What I did was I let my manager let the rest of them know that I hit goal. It sounds so petty, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because
Yeah.
I wasn't craving that recognition, it just was irritating when others were. Because it was like, what are you doing? Like, it's all gonna go in our pocket no matter what the manager thinks, Like, I don't know how to explain that, but I know what you mean.
No, I to hit on that note
Yeah.
though, at my job, the one that I just quit,
Mhm.
it was like so we didn't so I feel like it's different because you have your commission based.
Yeah.
Mine is basically it's like you'll get a paycheck, but it's like you need to be doing your work. And the thing that bothered me is like my job was so many details. So
Mhm.
it's like when I hit all those details, it was like radio silence. But as soon as you saw a mess up, it was like, Nyla, you messed up. And it's like, okay, I have been, and that was the annoying thing because I agree with you. I don't like the whole teacher's pet. I don't do things for recognition.
Mhm.
If I did things for recognition, I would literally text my boss, hey, I finished this in like
Yeah.
record time today. And it's like, no, I'm not like that. She was the person to brag on me. And it's like, okay, I don't,
Right.
and it's awkward for me because it's like, you're bragging on me. What do I do? Like, just like, but I hated, and it happened way too often where it was like, every single time I made a mistake, it was high, it was that's what they dwelled on. But
Yep.
anything I did something good or something that was like nearly impossible, no, never. And it
Yeah.
was so annoying.
I definitely think that management is huge, and I've started to notice this as we work more. Management is huge. Like, I just want to shout out like my two managers. They probably not gonna watch this, but like they were amazing. Like if I were to like I told them, I'm not leaving this job because of you. Like this is the last thing I need. I need you to write that resume or that
Recommendation letter.
recommendation letter. So we definitely like this. But like I would say there's there's two things that kept me at my job for as long as I was there for, which I was only there for over a year, but it felt like forever. I would say the people that I was working with, because I know you said like you didn't really have work friends. So I mean maybe that kind of played in. Like if you did, you would have stayed there longer. But I would say for me, it kept me there longer for sure. Because when you go into work, from the job that we had, it's a cool environment. Like you have
Right.
people to talk to, talk shit to, like joke around. So it doesn't feel like work during that 8-hour shift or however long. It feels like fun, and you still get your stuff done, but it's not so boring. And so I would definitely say my coworkers were amazing. We all can crack a joke and, talk shit. And then I would say the pay. If I was not getting paid, I was getting paid. I would have been out the door like a year ago. What would you say for you besides, I know one of them was that, you really wanted it for school and for your resume, but was there anything else that you would say really kept you there?
Um, what kept me there was the flexibility. Like
Okay.
at this job, there was flexibility like no other. And I know, like, just from trying to make plans with you, how you have to say, hold on, let me get my PTO approved real quick, and
Yeah.
then I'll let you guys know. My job, you let me know, I'm gonna be there. Like, I don't care if I gotta work, if it's midday, early in the morning, late at night. Like,
Mhm.
I just tell my boss, hey, I have something to do tomorrow. I'm gonna leave early. And she's like, okay. Like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
My boss was amazing. I loved her. She was amazing. She was so relatable. She wasn't one of those robot bosses. So she kept me there. Um, and the flexibility and also it being in the medical field kept me there. The people, I didn't really make those connections. And I hate that I didn't make those connections because I like having friends. I like talking to people, but it was like
Yeah.
I just didn't have, and also my office was in a completely different building. I made a connection with one person. It's because I saw her every single day, and we still text and have each other on social media. But like,
Mhm.
other than that, I made like no connections with anyone, and I hated that because at the job that we had together, that's where I met Jeff. So,
Right.
it was a good environment, and I loved it. So I was like, I can't wait to get another job to make more work friends. But it was like I got there, and it was like, and I'm also not the type of person to be, hi, I'm Nyla, let's be friends. Like I'm the type of person to just like sit around quiet until someone comes and talks to me, and it's like if we have something in common, cool, we're friends. But if we
Yeah.
don't, then it's like, all right, you have this client after me. This is what I did. Here we go.
I'm dead. I would say too, even just to hit on that, and I feel like a lot of people can relate. Because we had an on-campus job, we're all college students, so we're all generally within the same age.
Right.
When you actually get into an actual job, whether that's full-time, whatever, part-time, you're with Miss Carol, who's 60. You're with you're with Don, who's 24. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like you have such a huge range. And I've
Right.
seen things on Facebook that it's like, where's Carol today? She not in. Like, she becomes like your 50-year-old best friend, and it's just crazy. So I think like your connection thing is so common because we don't all have anything in common anymore once we actually get into the workforce.
Right. It's like these people are now like my older siblings or like my second parent. Like my boss was like an auntie or like one of those older best friends. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
like
my mom's best
yeah,
friend, like the type of person. Yeah, like and then my coworkers, it was more of a college like college based job because a lot of college students, wanted a job in the medical field. They had the same thought process as me, but they're in and out. They're in and out. Like
mhm,
literally so many people had gone through that job with my working there for like a year and a half. And then there are those older people who like they're good with this job. This is their lifelong job. They're good settling down. But my question for you is like, what were the things that made you leave? Like, what was the tip of the iceberg for you?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple things. Because we're fresh out of college, we are craving experience, right?
Mhm.
I knew this job it wasn't necessarily in the field that I want to get into. Looking back, I definitely learned a lot of things that may not have been in the marketing field, but I can use sales techniques in life, period. Like you go to a store, you can use anything in sales to sell your house, buy a house, anything. You know, there's different techniques that I've learned that I can implement in my life or in a business, whatever. But I would say because of the experience, I was really looking for something that would challenge me. And this position came to a point where once you learn everything that you need to learn, it's just like this. Like then you're kind of going through the motions. You know what I'm saying? So there was a point where I was like, I've learned all that I feel like I can learn. Now I'm just kind of going through the motions and it's nothing new. It's the same thing every single day. And me personally, everyone's different as far as, what they want to do with their life and like how they kind of choose what job they want to have, but I need something that isn't repetitive every single time. I need something constantly, and it doesn't have to be like crazy things every day, you know what I'm saying? But something that's going to challenge me or like
Right.
throw me off
Stimulate your brain.
guard. Right. Stimulate my brain, like do something. Like we got all this like, education supposedly, like let's do something with it. So going back to where I said I felt heard is because I was pretty clear on my goal. So I met with my manager. We call her a leader, but I met with my manager. I would say like twice, and I told her, I'm not going to be here forever. Like let's just get that straight. This is what I want to do. I'm young. I'm trying to build my resume. It wasn't anything like weird. She was like, I get you. So I had asked her like, I need a position, like, is there any positions in the company that are gonna like push me or any positions higher, kind of like yours, where you might have been doing something different and I don't know if it pushed you necessarily more or helped you learn more in the medical field, but that's what I needed and that's what I was craving. So that's one of the things that made me want to leave. Another thing that really pushed me over the edge was because of coronavirus, we all got sent home. So I was working at home, which was all fun and games in the beginning. And then, you get into that funk. But not only that, but then they started mandating overtime. Then I started working 11, 12-hour shifts. One thing that I've noticed, and I love money, and everybody that knows me knows I like shmoney. And it's not like it's more to it. There's more of a background on why I do. So we can get into that later. But it was definitely the main reason why I was there. But it got to a point where I was like, I value myself so much more. Why am I spending 11 to 12 hours and no family time, no friend time? Like, no, I just felt drained. And so, honestly, that got me to that point where I wasn't learning anything. So, it wasn't anything new. It was all repetitive. And doing that for 11 to 12 hours, and then not only that, but like just to kind of put in people's perspective, I didn't have a weekend. It was like I had two random days out of the week that I had off. So I had Thursday and Saturday. So it wasn't I had like back to back. It was like you're off one day, go back to it. Off one day, go back to it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, those are the two things that made me like deuce out. And the funny thing that you mentioned earlier is that you started actively looking for a job. Let me tell y'all, like, when you were talking about how you were looking at positions that had not shit to do with not shit, I don't know who raised me to think I was about to be a dental assistant. I was so desperate to find another job that I was like, F it. I was like, I know teeth, I know everything about this. Like, that's what I was gonna do. So I literally applied, just hoping and praying, like, I mean, as long as it paid the bills, but yeah, I think those were definitely my two things, but I can relate to your whole situation as far as like looking for another job. Um, for you though, so when did you quit again? Like 2 months or 3 months ago?
End of July, I gave my I gave my 2 months notice though, because I wanted to
Yay.
set them up for success because I knew all the work that went into my position. So I wanted to train. I wanted to have plenty of time to train my replacement. So I gave them plenty of time. And
Mhm.
mind you, when I first applied for this position and I had my interview, they said, we're looking for someone that's going to be able to commit 2 years. And I told them up front, I was very honest. I said, I'm not going to lie. I can only commit a year because I want to go back to school. Like my long-term goal is to be a doctor. And I told them that. So after my interview, I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to get it because, you know, they want a longer person. They want someone to work longer. But I got it. And she was like, I know you said that you're going to be leaving, but like we needed you. So like low-key, I was like, oh, you guys wanted me.
Right.
I told everyone that applied.
That's why.
But yeah.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. Let me just
Yeah.
say this real quick for all the ladies that are on here. Whenever you watch, apply for positions that you don't think you'll qualify. Not
Yeah.
only, not like women are known. I watched this TED talk or something. There's such a high percentage of women that do not apply, and I actually was doing this, so I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I found myself like I'm not enough for that position. I don't hit all the qualifications, you know what I'm saying? So apply for the damn job even if you don't think you hit every single thing, because at the end of the day I feel like once you get in front of them and you can express what you can do, express how much you want to be an asset to the company and why you are going to be, like you'll get those jobs. I'm sorry, continue.
Oh, like praise to that because
Mhm,
I did not feel qualified,
mhm.
but being in that position, like I honestly feel, and this is not me being conceited or anything, I feel like I made that organization better. Like my being in that
Yeah,
position, like I feel like anyone else being in that position would have been good, but me personally being in that position really helped them out. Because now, like I said, I put into my 2 months notice. They
mhm,
hired someone. I trained her for 3 weeks and she quit. It was horrible because it was like, okay, what do we do now? They
right.
hired someone else. At the end of like, I got 2 weeks to train her, not even because she had a lot of PTO. So I basically had like 4 days to train her. And she called me. I told her, you can call me if you need anything because I know how much this position, like how much work this position has. So she called me a couple times afterwards and I found out that she ended up eventually quit. So they're in a position now where they don't even have anyone in my old position. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so like I really feel like my being in that position really helped the company or the organization. And I tried to do as much as I could. Like even though I was burnt out and even though I did quit and it wasn't my personal responsibility to make sure that the person in my new position was good, like I personally wanted to do that for them because I know how much work goes into what I did.
Right. Yeah, I definitely feel like we're kind of similar. We don't like to toot our own horns kind of thing, but at the end of the day, I feel like you're confident enough to say that because you know 100% that you did something. Not only were you put in a position, literally an actual position that had no guidance, there wasn't, structure or a trainer, however, you want to put it, but you paved the way for the next person after you. So that right there is being an asset to a company. They didn't have that. They didn't have what they have now. You know what I'm saying? Because you were there. So you said you quit at end of July. What month is it? Saturday? Or I mean September?
Yes, it's Saturday, Bria. It's September, so August, September, so
Okay,
about a month and a half ago.
a month and a half. Okay. Did you have something lined up?
No.
Nothing
You know
lined
what's crazy? I quit to go back to school. I was not accepted into school when I quit. It was honestly a leap of faith. Like when I tell you if I didn't get into school, if I didn't get back into school, I don't know what I would be doing. So when I quit and I told them like these are my plans, but these plans are not set in stone, but these are my plans and I knew that I just need to get my career going because I
Yeah.
could have been comfortable at that position. When I have so many thoughts running through my brain right now. I could have been comfortable in that position, just, working an 8 to 5 or whatever,
Nine.
working a 40-hour a week job, getting a steady paycheck, not pursuing my dreams because I'm getting this money. But no, I took a risk. I quit with no 100% plans.
Yes.
And I did that and thank God I got into school, but still like I don't know what I would have done. Like, I had nothing lined up. I had no plan B. Like, because this job was my plan B, because I wanted to go straight to med school, but I had to take a break because of toxic teachers, which is a whole nother topic.
Right.
But man, I had nothing lined up.
And that's hard. Like, to be honest, like, I thought about quitting way before I actually quit. So, like, I quit in mid and August. So it's been almost I think actually a month. Yeah, almost a month exactly. Next week. So it's been almost a month, but I thought about quitting. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. My first quitting thought was, I would say, 6 months in.
Really?
Yes. Because I mean that's how quick I got bored.
Mm-hmm.
And our generation is a whole nother like monster in itself, because we're known to leave jobs that we're not happy at, which good for us, because
Right.
I know so many people who have been at a company for 30 plus years who will replace them by tomorrow if they died. Like, God forbid they died. But you know what I'm saying? I want to be in a position where you can't replace me. And if you can, it's going to be a struggle for you, something.
Literally the decision I made. Like we said, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm irreplaceable. Like, and they have shown 2 people have quit. There's someone that worked at that job since before I was born. And the thing is, I don't understand is that particular job caps at like 16 an hour or something.
Okay.
So if you know that there's a cap to your pay,
Yeah.
you're good getting paid.
And like,
hours.
yeah.
16 hours.
And like, no shade, because some people, everyone's meant for everything, right? So like,
Right.
we need people, we need certain people to work certain positions,
Right.
To keep this world going. But I'm not one of them. So
right, I feel like we're just more ambitious than some people, and it's okay if some people are comfortable working
yeah,
that pay forever. I
right,
just wasn't.
right. And then like, not only that, but like, you get to a point where you have to, maybe you have a kid, you got to support them. If you quit a job, like what, so it all is kind of like, it's like a crazy cycle, because it's like maybe they're in that position and they don't even want to be, but then you kind of get into that snowball effect where it's like, well, I'm already here, I have guaranteed pay. And that's kind of where I was making a good amount for someone out of college. Like, would never I don't regret working that job at all,
Mm-hmm.
because I've kind of put myself in a position. I'm a big saver, so I put myself in a position to where I was able to be jobless and still maintain, if that makes sense. So even though I was so scared, like I kept going back and forth, like I need this amount of money because I'm trying to do so many things, so I need to have residual income at all times. And if I quit, I have this transition time before I want to move. So it was just so many factors on when to quit. Really, that was like the main thing of when I want to quit. So I would say for a good 6 months out of the year I was there, I have thought about quitting. January came around, that's when I wanted to quit. Fast forward to June, I wanted to quit again. And like you said, you kind of went through these up and downs of like, especially with sales, because you get that commission check and then you get happy again, and then you're like, this job ain't so bad. And I and I didn't want to fall into that cycle, because that's what's going to keep you there and keep you content. And I saw it, and I did not want to be one of those people, even though I did turn into them for like a hot second. But then once you get mentally drained, I have never been so mentally drained from a job so much in my life, like to where I was, like you said, kind of like what you said with the caregiving for that guy that was inappropriately, touching, saying things. You got to a point, and mine kind of was on a worse level, where I didn't care. I got to a point where I was not representing myself accurately, because I didn't care. You could tell me I'm not producing and I didn't care, because at the end of the day, I know I'm going to leave. You know what I'm saying? So whether it was you firing me or me quitting, it's going to happen, one of the two. And I know that I didn't need that job necessarily. So my production and my attitude, it was all going downhill, because I was so drained. I was not happy. I've never been so unhappy like ever in my life, from a job that can replace me, who was already replacing me because they already had people being trained. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's just like, that's the kind of like things, like, for anyone that's working a job like that, like, especially people our age, like, just remember that, like, your mental health, and I know mental health is like stressed so much right now. It is so important, like, to put yourself first. Like, I cannot stress that enough, to put yourself first. And like, Nyla, you can say how you felt after you quit your job. For me, it was like 50 pounds lifted off of my shoulders. And I felt like myself again. Like, literally within 2 days, I was like, I am back to me. Like, how did you feel?
When I tell you the last like week of the job, I didn't even work 40 hours. I was just going in, doing what I had to do, and leaving. I think I worked like maybe 8. And I was just
Really?
like, you know what? 8 hour. No, it was more like 16. But I barely, like, I did not. It just like, it was to the point where it was like, okay, they have somebody, they don't need me anymore. And then not only that, like when remember how I said that like I offered all that I could. So
Yeah.
the person that I was training as I was leaving, she didn't feel comfortable because like it was like a crash course. So I was still staying, like our apartment, we didn't move in until the 21st of August. So I said I can, come in, not every day, but like whenever needed to finish her training. I
Mhm.
offered all that I could. I said I can even take things, I can work remotely until she's finished. They were like, no, no, thank you, but thank you. So I'm just like, okay, because like I know how valuable I am. I
Right.
know what I'm worth. And it's like if you don't want it, then so be it. You're putting yourself in a bad position when you
Right.
don't need to. So when I was done, it like you said, it was like that weight just lifted off my shoulder. I had gained stress weight. I was like very unhealthy eating. Like I wasn't eating right. And
Right.
then as soon as like within like 2-3 weeks, that weight came off. I lost like 10 pounds. I started eating healthy.
Yes.
Like my skin cleared up. Like when I tell you I would get like, because I never get acne. I get pimples here and there, but
Yep.
like I never break out. Like I had patches and I was just like, this isn't me.
Right.
So when I left and it was over, even though like the job wasn't horrible, I want to stress that like I did not hate the job. I didn't hate the people there or the management. It's just the way that they ran things could
Mhm.
have been better. And that's with anything. Like anything can be improved. And
Yeah.
it's just for me, it just wasn't the right fit for me in that moment in my life. And then as soon as it was over, I was like, I can focus on me, I can focus on my future, and I can move on with my life and actually go towards my final goal, because I didn't want to be in a position where it was like, I want to be a doctor, but just not yet. I'm just gonna, stay here just a little longer, just a little longer, just a little. Like, no, I was like, let me just take the leap, quit,
Yes.
and get on with my life. So,
That I get you 100%. You didn't let yourself get comfortable, because
yes,
it's so easy to stay in your comfort zone and just work that job and just be like, well, I'm gonna go back to school or whatever your goal was, but I'm just gonna work here a little bit longer. Keeping those safety nets is like it's like crippling sometimes, because I feel you 100%. And like, I felt that too. I'm not all like super hardcore religious, but I definitely prayed on this. Like, I was like, Lord, please help me get through this. Like, please give me something that, like, lined up, like something, you know what I'm saying? And it came to the point where I was just like, something in me was like, I just have to do it. Like, the day that I quit, and like for my job, it's a little different. For sales, there is no 2-week notice type of deal. For some people that may or may not be aware. So when you quit, you leave. Like, you're gone that day. Because we have so much sensitive information. You never know people's intent. So you could, quit and, I don't know.
right, write down someone's
Yeah,
information from
write
your
down
life.
someone's information, but that wasn't my goal. So when I quit, I did not expect to quit that day. It was the craziest thing. It was just one of those weird feelings where I was just like, if I answer one more phone call, I might say something to a client that comes at me sideways that I don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? It was like one of those things where you just felt like, today's the day. Like, today's the day that I'm going to leave this job. And that's how I felt. And that's just what happened. I had a conversation with my manager as soon as I sent in my email, and I mean, that was that. But so from your experience, like this is your first time quitting a job, no?
Because
Okay.
that old job, like if you're not a student, you can't work there. So
Right.
this is my
So
first time like voluntarily leaving.
yeah, yeah, me too. So what advice would you give to anyone who's kind of in that position where they're stuck and they either feel scared or hesitant on, whether that's quitting or just leaving the position in general?
Okay, so my advice would probably be like put yourself first because I'm the type of person, I think I stayed on the job for a lot longer than I wanted to because I knew that if I left, they would be in a worse position.
Mhm.
So put yourself first. Like, you can't think about other people because your mental health is ultimately the most important thing for you.
Mhm.
Like, no matter how compassionate you are or how big of a heart you have, like, you have to put yourself first. And if you can put yourself first and still, cater to the needs that your other wants, and awesome. But like ultimately, you can't stay in a position or stay at a job that you know is toxic. If
Mhm.
you know you're being not micromanaged, but if you know that people are having microaggressions towards you, don't do that because so many things can go into factor into people quitting or anything. But my biggest advice is just like put yourself first and like don't let anyone else convince you otherwise. Don't let anyone convince you that what you need or what you want isn't valid because then the greater need is bigger than your need.
Right. I love that. I love that. I would say, oh man, there's so many things I want to say, but as far as far as advice, first off, we're not advocating for out here just quitting jobs. Like,
Right.
if what happened like that, you ain't gonna be keying afterwards. But I would say my advice, especially for people our age, is just like you said, know your worth. Like, and before you get to the point of leaving a position, for your own sanity, make sure that you've exhausted the other options within the company if you're happy with the company as far as their company culture, the coworkers, management, all that good stuff. So if you like the overall company itself and their values and how they treat you versus just maybe your position, I would say definitely feel like you have exhausted all those options before you decide to leave, especially for people our age, because you never know of opportunities that are out there or positions unless you ask. Sometimes I'm not as courageous as I would like to be. I second guess too much. So I would say ask like all the time. Definitely make connections with your manager. They have more pull than you think. Like, ask, express. Like you said, you were pretty upfront with them as far as you were only going to be there for this amount of time, so you want to get as much as you can out of that 1 year that you were with them. So make sure that your goals are clear so that if something pops up in the company, maybe a different department where they have a position open that they feel is a better fit for you, make sure it's known what your intentions are so that if something like that comes up, they know who to go to. If you've already represented, that you're responsible and you can do this and that you could be a good fit for that position. So I would say that's definitely my advice is don't go around just quitting jobs, if you're unhappy, because there's always different options.
Right. Another piece though is
Yes.
don't get comfortable.
Mm,
If oh
let them
ask
know. Let them
ask
know.
if you have greater plans for your life, like if you're comfortable, like if you're good and you're like, I can do this for the rest of my life, kudos to you. But if you strive to grow
Mhm.
in a position or if you love a company and your goal is to continue growing, make sure that that company has growth for you. And if they don't, do not get comfortable and do not get to a point where it's like you're so comfortable that you don't have faith in yourself. Like I saw this post, it said you're 28, you want to go to school, but you don't want to because you'll be 32 when it's over. Regardless of if you go to school or not, in 4 years, you're still going to be 32.
Right.
Like, don't get comfortable in a position because you feel like you're too old to go after your dreams. Like, always achieve your dreams.
Mhm.
My timeline for my life is completely screwed up from what I wanted 4 years ago, but
Right.
it's still going to happen no matter how it happens, at the end of the day, I'm going to achieve my goals because I want to. So don't get comfortable, know your worth, and, strive for greatness always.
Period. Period. I love that. I hope everybody can relate. And if you can't, good for you, because you must be in a job. I'm still looking, so let me know. Let me know what position you had if you happy. But yeah, that kind of wraps everything up. More of the story, like you said, know yourself, strive for greatness, don't get comfortable, and don't stay for money. That's one thing I want to add in there. That was my thing for a second. As I was staying for money, I realized that my happiness is worth more than money. So
Mhm.
that's another thing.
That's a
But
good one.
yes, everybody have a good rest of your day. Bye.